Greetings everybody. I recently found out about the XLG ETF, which is an S&P 50 ETF, and it made me think about selling SPLG, which is an S&P 500 ETF, and I'd like to tell you why. First, the S&P 50 have outperformed the S&P 500 during the past year, past 3 years, and the past 5 years. Also, the shares are cheaper to purchase at about $33–$34 a share as of the time of this video, while SPLG costs about $49 a share. The reason I like cheap shares is because it's easier for me to come up with $30 or $50 to invest than it is to come up with $300 or $400 to invest, which is what VU and SPY cost, which are other popular S&P 500 ETFs. Now, what's held me back from making the switch from SPLG to XLG? For one, XLG has a lower dividend at about 1.12% compared to SPLG's 1.61%. It's not a big difference, but it's about 0.5%, and I like how SPLG's dividend is closer to 2%, and after the ETF hikes its dividend during the upcoming years, the yield on shares purchased during these times will reach 2%. The other thing I noticed is that XLG isn't traded as much as SPLG. On average, about 621,000 shares of XLG are traded every day, whereas 6 million shares of SPLG are traded every day. That's 10 times more. In a way, this probably doesn't matter though, unless someone's planning on trading more than 600,000 shares of XLG in a day, and even then I don't know if it would matter, but I wanted to mention the trading volume anyway. Another thing I like about XLG, however, is that it's just the top 50 companies, which is comprised of the biggest names, which together have outperformed and may continue to outperform the S&P 500. But what I like about the S&P 500 ETF is that it includes almost all of the companies that I regularly spend my money on, whereas the S&P 50 doesn't include as much. And the reason this matters to me is because I think it's kind of cool to be a part owner, as they say, through stocks of the same companies that I spend my money on. In conclusion, why don't I just buy both ETFs? Well, that would seem like too much overlap to me. That is, I would have the S&P 50 and then I'd have the S&P 50 again, but in the S&P 500. And if I'm going to have multiple ETFs in my portfolio, I would rather have them be at least more diversified than that. That is, not have them all be in stocks and let alone be repeating the same stocks. For now, I'm sticking with SPLG, but we'll see if that changes one day. Good luck, everybody.